Hello, welcome to the podcast today. I want to talk about illness, especially with people who've been abused. When you've been abused, your body will remember everything and it will affect the body, and therefore you'll often get illnesses. You can get colitis, you can get migraines, you can get chest problems, you can get asthma, various things around the body. The reason I'm doing this particular podcast is that quite often if you go to the doctor, they won't find anything. They won't find anything physically wrong with you. And that's because the illness isn't physical. It's emotional, mental, and maybe psychological. The reason it's important is because you're not going nuts, okay? It's just coming from an emotional place or a mental place or a psychological place because of the abuse. Sometimes tied into what happened to you, and that's why you're having problems there and the doctor can't find it. You'll feel better. It's nothing more frustrating than having something going on in your body and you go and have it all checked out and they can't find anything wrong with you, and then you feel like a complete nutcase or loser, when in fact there is still something wrong with you. You've just got some emotional stuff stuck in you that you haven't dealt with. Could be anger, fear, terror. It can be grief sometimes. That'll give people illness as well, and heartache. All these things, all these emotions, and now mental things, if you had mental damage or psychological damage, they will manifest. It's the same as people who have PTSD. They can't put that on a piece of paper. They can't put it on the table. They can't do an experiment and find it because it's not coming from the physical. It's in the physical manifesting, but it's not coming from there. And once you start to realize that some of your illnesses and some of the things around your body that aren't going so great are coming from the abuse, I think you can kind of relax. It's relaxing to know that. And it can be very simplistic. I remember one day I came out and had a dreadful migraine. My youngest son looked at me and he said, "Who are you angry with?" Which is really, he was only like 7. And I looked at him and I went, "Oh." And then I said the person's name who I was angry with, because he had actually picked up that it wasn't that my neck was out or I had muscle tension, so to speak. Because I got angry, it created the migraine. And I've actually, with other people in the work I do as a healer, I've actually said to people, your colitis is because you're angry with your mum, or your heartache is causing your heart. That was what caused the heart problems you've got now. The asthma was caused because you were feeling suffocated and because you had a lot of grief around your chest about something that had happened. It's coming from a completely different space than the organic thing. Of course, if you keep having problems in that area, I feel it usually goes into the physical body eventually. So if you've got a lot of fear and you're holding a lot of fear and maybe anger in your bladder, you might land up exacerbating and having bladder infections, and they become more and more and more because it's coming now into the physical being. Next time you get sick, try and ask what it is. Like, is it fear? Is it anger? Is it grief? Is it terror? Is it hate, rage, resentment? See if you get some feeling around it. If they can't find out like what's wrong with it, because it's coming from the abuse, it's some emotion that's got stuck there. And emotions sort of get stuck around our bodies and they block up that part of the body, and when we let go of the emotion, then it starts to flow properly and the actual thing will go away. People don't talk about illness in this way, even though we all know that illness often starts in the emotional body and the mental body, how we think, and then can manifest into other ways. It's a really powerful thing that you now see your body as having been abused, and now you have to work on it. So you look at your illness and the things that are going wrong in a different way. I kind of felt a relief in a way because it made me understand some of the things that happened around my body, because I just tune in and go, oh, I got that because I'm angry, or there's a bit of fear in there, or there's a little bit of resentment in that throat of yours, whatever the thing was, and then I go and work on the emotion, and then the thing would just ease off and clear up. The doctors do their best, okay? The medical people doing their best to find it, but it's not their fault if when the test comes back they can't find it. For example, if it comes back and you've been really, really tired and you've got no energy anymore, and it comes back, all your tests are beautiful, that doesn't mean you're wrong or they're actually wrong. They're right because on the physical level it's not showing. However, if you've been suffering from depression from the abuse, that will make you tired, and that will make you not care about anything. So it's coming from your emotion, the depression. Try and see if you can locate where it is. And sometimes people are really great. They'll actually tell you, we're like that because you had so much anxiety. That's why you threw up. It's not because there's anything wrong with you. You just threw up because you had too much anxiety. I've seen that happen. I remember one of my sons had to do an exam, an important exam, and in the morning he threw up. That was from his anxiety. He didn't have gastro or anything wrong with him that day. It wasn't coming from an organic thing from his body. It was his emotions made him throw up. There's a kind of a peace and a calmness that comes when you realize that this thing that you have right now is from some kind of emotion trap from the abuse, and even maybe a current one that's coming up again, because then you can let it go, let that emotion go, and then it can clear off. That's why they tell you things like, you got a funny heart, don't get stressed, don't get upset, don't get anxious, don't get angry, because your blood pressure will go up. Because we know already that these emotions affect the body a lot. And with abuse, you have so many emotions that come through, and particularly if you've had years or decades of abuse, you just collected like so many of those emotions. And I tend to call them negative emotions because they're not helpful to the body. They're not positive things like love and joy and happiness and calmness and peace. They're the positive ones. These are like the negative ones because they don't have a good effect on your body. Anger will never be good for your body. Fear will never be good for your body. Heartache and grief will never be good for your body. They are processes that we have, but they're not good. And you will have a lot more emotions than a normal person. And when I talk about a normal person, I'm talking in context of someone who hasn't been abused. They won't have all this. They just grew up in la la land when they got their bike and mum and dad were great. Still have a fabulous relationship with them. It's fabulous going all to the family meals. You might not have that. You need to really take care of yourself and not be critical or hard on yourself. Don't put yourself down because you're getting sick all the time. You just need to know this is your body calling out to you. Hey, there's a finger over here in your shoulder where it's inflamed. Excuse me, the reason you're having trouble with your bladder right now and getting infections all the time is there's too much fear there. And you can go and explore some of the organs. I find the Chinese understanding of the organs in the body and which organs tend to collect or where these emotions tend to reside in these organs a little bit more than usual. And you can go and check it out and then go and think about yourself and your life. Illness is multi-layered. It can come from a physical, emotional, mental, and it can come from a psychological point of view. It can also come from some stuff we haven't dealt with in the astral body, and if you're a spiritual person, you know what I'm talking about, from the blocks there. Go exploring. Don't be hard on yourself. The illness is still real. The migraine I had with the anger was still a bloody sore migraine. It was really, really painful, and I think I had it like all day until I did a bit of work on myself and started to realise. What I'm trying to say to you, these illnesses are not different to a physical illness. However, they're not as easy to cure either, because you can take medication for some physical things, or rub an ointment on it or something, or use an antibiotic. But some of these are harder to get rid of because they're originating in the emotional body, in the mental body. So start looking at your illnesses this way if you've been abused. I think people still have them who haven't been abused. However, they don't seem to have as many negative emotions trapped in their body because their life was actually better. Wishing you good luck with this, and I hope it all works for you, and I hope you start finding, and please feel free to send me a little message and tell me how you're going, because we're all out here. And the reason I've done these podcasts is to reach the millions and millions and billions of people who've been abused, because we need to get well, and we need to have someone talk to us about it when we're alone and feel like there's nobody there. I'm always there for you, always there. Okay, sending you lots of love and light.